Hello mortals, I am the BookTube Goddess, the #1 drag queen booktuber on YouTube. And I decided to react to another booktuber. But this one I think is a reluctant booktuber, but he is extremely popular. And yes, I am talking about Daniel Greene. Now, I've watched him off and on for a couple of years, and I think I tuned in when he was saying, oh, I'm not going to do just book reviews anymore. I'm going to branch off to movies and other nerdy sci-fi fantasy mediums, I think.
I'm divorcing BookTube. That's the most clickbaity thing I've ever done in my life. But it's also rather true, so maybe it's not entirely clickbait.
But anyway, I believe he got his start with book reviews, and I think he is kind of the YouTuber's YouTuber. In other words, he does a lot of very slick camera angles, and he does a lot of experimentation, and I think he even does skits, and everything about his videos look very clean and polished. He also comes across a bit as an intellectual. I don't know why, but that's just sort of the gist I got from him. So let's take a look at Daniel Greene's channel. Okay, here we are looking at his videos. Let's sort by his oldest. And it looks like he started 4 years ago, and he started with Wheel of Time. Surprise, surprise, he is a huge Wheel of Time fan. And wow, it has 90,000 views. That is fantastic. So I wonder if he's had a channel before this, or if he had other videos in his channel where he had a lot of subscribers already. Right now, he is over 250,000 subscribers, which in the BookTube universe is a lot. Wow. Okay, so let's take a look at his very first video.
Hello, this is going to be my in-depth review of the entire Wheel of Time series. I am going to go through each and every book here, so if you don't...
I know I say that about every booktuber, but when you get to my age, anyone under 30 looks like a fetus. And he looks like a young Doogie Howser. By the way, I don't mean that as a read. I think it's funny, but he looks a lot like Doogie Howser, which, of course, is the actor Neil Patrick Harris. So we know what he's going to look like when he gets a little older, I think. Let's keep watching.
I want to sit through the whole thing. I will put time annotations down below for you to skip to individual books or to my conclusion where I kind of summarize, wrap up my opinion.
This already looks so professional.
Now to get some numbers out of the way, the Wheel of Time series is pretty hard to get into. It is almost 4.5 million words long. It is over 11,000 pages total.
You look at
and
it
if you want
way.
to listen to it on audio, it's going to take you over 461 hours. So it is a bit of a Goliath series. That being said, let's jump into book one, The Eye of the World. The Eye of the World starts with us being introduced to a village and 3 specific farm boys who clearly are going to be pretty much our main characters for the series. The book establishes that very well off right away. And we do meet more characters, their friends, their confidants within the village, and we also meet some newcomers to the village and a couple strangers. From here, the series takes us on our adventure. Bad things start happening to the village, and of course, the 3 protagonists must leave.
Now, he doesn't have as much energy as I think he has in his more recent videos, but still, look at these jump cuts, look at the way he uses graphics. This is all still very professional, very impressive for a first video. Again, I kind of have a feeling this isn't his first video ever, but at least it is on this channel.
The beginning trope for almost every fantasy series ever. Now, what the Wheel of Time does differently here is that all of these characters that are leaving the village don't really want to go. There's none of the happy, oh, we have to go on this adventure, yay. Everyone's leaving and they don't really want to, but you understand their motivations.
Did he mention Nynaeve and Egwene? Because I know he said 3 farm boys, which of course is Matt, Perrin, and Rand. But Did he mention the female characters? I don't know. Maybe
4
it's
leaving.
coming up.
From here, the book starts building its world. And it
Love that
does
map.
probably the best job I've ever seen of world building within a fantasy series.
Really?
From the get-go, we start getting the histories, the lore, the legends, and the prophecies of the world through our main wizard guide type character named Moraine. She does a very good job of informing the young farm boys, Perrin, Matt, and Rand, of the world they are going into. Because these boys are so uneducated, they really don't know what they are getting into, and eventually they start having to make decisions, and they all start learning about themselves. And I really like the way that the Eye of the World does this, because it splits them up a lot. Not everyone's alone, but they all have to go on their own separate adventures with maybe 1 or 2 other people, and start learning about what their own limits are. And I really feel like that's the main focus of the Eye of the World. What happens when you put great pressure on people who are inexperienced and you really start seeing their real character? And this is the theme throughout the story. I'm not going to go any more depth of the Eye of the World. I don't want to spoil the entire thing. By the end, things have escalated to a great degree, and now we are dealing with a higher level, a higher scale. The stakes are higher by the end of the book, and we learn what really is going on and the big twist of who the Dragon Reborn is. I'm not going to spoil that within the first book. I am going to have to talk about it in later books. If you have not started the series and you don't want it to be spoiled, don't listen on from here on out. Go away.
Okay.
Now we're going to get into the overall review of Book 1. I think Book 1 is one of the best books in the series because of how well it introduces you to the world.
Absolutely.
It's not the most exciting book. It's not the most important book, but it does a great job of making you care about these characters.
Now, I've said before, I really enjoy first books of series, and again, it's just because it's so new that you're just getting introduced to the characters, the stories, you're just getting maybe just a glimpse into the world building. But the Wheel of Time series definitely has one of the best first books, so I absolutely agree with Daniel on this one. In fact, I did a video, I'll link it up here, wherein I sort of explained my history with Wheel of Time, because I'm one of those people that started reading it with the very first book, which was, early 90s? And it got so frustrating reading it because we would have to wait, usually sometimes a year, sometimes multiple years, before the next book came out. And of course, Robert Jordan got sick, and he eventually, unfortunately, passed away, and the series was continued by Brandon Sanderson. But my point is that reading the series as it was published was kind of a frustrating experience. If you're into Game of Thrones, you kind of understand that waiting game. And some of the books didn't advance the plot as much as one would hope. It's a completely different experience if you're reading it from start to finish, and you can just read at your own pace and don't have to wait years between books coming out. But I absolutely agree that the first book is one of the best. Now, I don't know how far I'm going to get into his video here because I don't really want to do any spoilers, but I do know that he is a huge Wheel of Time fan. Whether it's the greatest fantasy series is up for a lot of argument by me.
So I'm going to give Book 1 an 8 out of 10. From here, we move on to Book 2, The Great Hunt.
Oh, he's going through
The Great Hunt
books.
is one of the best books in this series, again, in my opinion.
Through all
I
the
really
books?
love the beginning 3. The
First
Great Hunt starts off with
best.
Rand, after he realizes he's the Dragon Reborn, wanting to get away from everything. He wants to just run away. He wants to be alone. He doesn't want to hurt anyone around him. But in reality, he doesn't. He doesn't want to be alone. He wants to be with his friends. He wants to have that comfort. And he really struggles with the idea of the fact he might accidentally kill people near him because he doesn't want to be going insane with his channeling, using magic. The more you learn about the men who go insane from using magic and the fact that women don't, and this book really develops the power dynamic between the two more and shows why men are being hunted so much. That can channel. We also get more about the other false dragons within this book, especially the Borderlanders' hatred for them. And the thing that makes Book 2 so cool to me is that the characters are not at a super power level yet. They aren't, moving nations. They're still kind of this farm boy feel, but they also all know they'll never go back to that life.
It's a great
At least they don't
character
know it
arc
in their heads, but they kind of know it in their hearts. And what we end up with is a very cool cat and mouse theme throughout the first half of the book, where the main characters we've learned to follow and care about are chasing down and hunting the person who stole this very powerful artifact, the Horn of Valir. And it's very interesting to see this fantasy series turn into this kind of chase-themed book, and then in the second half almost turn into a heist kind of book where they're trying to steal it. And that's probably my favorite part of the book, is when they're actually trying to steal back the artifact from this noble's manor. It has a very interesting, unique setting for a fantasy book, and I kind of fell in love with the series in this book because it was so different than anything else I'd read in the genre. And there is this other character introduced to Rand, who's this mysterious woman who keeps tempting him to go investigate his powers more without really telling him to do that. And it's hinted at pretty heavily that she's some kind of dark, important figure, but we don't learn more about that till later. Now, there is the big famous battle at the end of book 2 where Rand fights the Dark One, essentially the devil of this world. And this results with him receiving his very famous, important scar that will cripple him for the rest of his life. Of course, at the very end of the series, we find out that this was not the Dark One. It was likely just one of the Forsaken, one of the high-up servants of the Dark One who wanted to challenge Rand, who had probably gone insane believing he himself was the Dark One. Now, this turns out to be the person who has been tormenting Rand for so long. And we know neither of them are dead, but we know that Rand did hurt him. It showed that the main adversary is hurtable, killable, maybe even. And this kind of opens up a new tone where instead of running and hiding, now there's this feel of maybe we can fight back. I'm going to give book 2 an 8.5 out of 10. Now we're going to get into book 3, The Dragon Reborn. And as the title suggests, this is where...
Okay, I'm not going to watch this whole video. I'll definitely link it below if you want to continue to watch it. Let me just go forward. Does he go through the entire series? Yeah. Oh, go away. My body's my money maker. Okay, it looks like he does go through the entire series. I was disappointed in the ending. Maybe I'm completely alone in that, but again, watch my video if you want to know more. So let's take a look at more of Daniel Greene's videos. He does The Way of Kings, Sanderson, Warbreaker, more Sanderson, Eye of the World, Breakdown. Maybe he does more in-depth on Wheel of Time. I wonder if he does any of the normal BookTube videos, like if he does tags or TBRs or anything like that. It wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't, but let's just skim. Oh, he does Dune. I just did a Dune review. Let's watch it. Okay, this was 4 years ago, 18K readers. So I'm kind of curious about his take on Dune. As you know, it's one of my favorite science fiction books, but little footnote is because I have a lot of nostalgia for Dune. But let's see what he says.
Dune, the sci-fi fantasy epic, considered one of the greats. I had sky-high expectations going in, and boy was I disappointed. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it, and let's get into why. So Dune is essentially the story of empires and planets fighting over trade and all kinds of stuff like that, and the build-up for all of this is fantastic. The universe itself is very interesting, and the ideas for this book are on point. You know, you really want to see them executed well, but they're not. And the only thing I can really draw parallels to is the Star Wars prequels. George Lucas is a great ideas guy, but once he was put in charge of execution, didn't work out so well. By the way, I feel like it's the same thing here. I feel like an ideas guy tried to execute everything on his own, and it did not turn out well for him. I can see why people do love this book. If you love just having a great setup and then going off on your own and having your own mind's interpretation, this book is pretty much tailor-made for you because, wow, there's a whole lot of great build-up and interesting things going on. But on its own and the narrative given, it's incredibly mundane. The dialogue is often stilted, couldn't buy into most of the characters, and I really didn't like what was going on.
I had mentioned that in my review, that DUNE is known for its very formal dialogue, which can come across as stilted to some people. But for me, I thought it gave it a lot of gravitas. I enjoyed the dialogue, even if I know people, he's not the only one, but other people think it is stilted. I think it works quite well for the book.
Going on most of the time. So many people just kind of state their actions, just kind of blatant. There's just so much exposition, and if you've been watching my videos, you know I hate blatant characters telling you what they're going to do and their motivations, exposition. Please let us fill that in, and this book almost never does, and it drove me nuts. If I'm going to be honest, the best thing about this book is just the world building, the ideas, and I would say everything else is just average to okay. It's not bad, but with the level of expectations I had going in, it's just so disappointing. I was expecting this to be in my new top 10. It's not even in my top 100. It's just, I know people are going to be mad at me in the comments. They're going to say, hey, you can't read right, you don't know how to interpret things, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I do. I've read people's positive reviews online, and I get what they're saying about it. It's epic, and it's awesome in a lot of ways. But that doesn't make up for a lack of actual sustenance in character and development and interesting plot arcs and twists and narratives that are...
Okay, I'm going to stop it there, and I'll link this video below too. I have a feeling the experience of DUNE may have a lot to do with what age you read it. Like I said in my DUNE video, I read it first when I was 15 and it had a really big impact on me, and I enjoyed it on the reread. I totally disagree with them that the writing tells and doesn't show. But, you know, we're all entitled to our own opinions, even if yours is wrong. Just kidding. Just kidding. Don't come for me. Okay, let's look at some more of his videos. So I see he does some Weeks, Black Prism. He does lots of Wheel of Time, of course. Neil Gaiman. Oh, there is a actual typical BookTube video, book haul. And I see Robert Ludlum flashing. Interesting. Oh, he does A Princess of Mars. Now, this is another one that I would be surprised if modern readers really gravitate to. I love Edgar Rice Burroughs, and I love the John Carter series. But again, I read them when I was probably 13. So, Malazan, first couple books of Malazan I loved, but it broke me. I could not get into that. The writing just got so dense, I just gave up on that series. Probably by the fourth book. There's more Sanderson. Oh, he did a Heinlein. I'm just sort of amazed how well his channel is doing with single book reviews, because most channels that do single book reviews don't really make it in the BookTube universe. I know my single book reviews don't usually do that well, but maybe it's just picking the right characters. Maybe the time, what was this, 2 years ago? Maybe it was more popular 2 years ago. I don't know. Oh, here's something interesting. BookTube, a character examination. Okay, let's see. Because I do think he used to consider himself a booktuber. I like the music. That's a Wheel of Time.
So, this is a different character examination.
Hair.
One what that I've been thinking about for a while. BookTube. Let's examine. I've been a booktuber for over 2 years now. It's something that I've enjoyed doing. It's had its serious ups and a couple of strange downs.
That's a great voice.
I've evolved and grown as a creator significantly, just going from me yelling at my laptop with no microphone and having to crank all the microphone inputs way up to even capture what I was saying, to having a DSLR with an actual microphone and all the stress that entails. It's been a heck of a journey, and it's helped me grow a community that I really love. I recognize so many of y'all in the comments section.
Hold on. He said he's been on BookTube for 2 years, and this is 2018. Let me go back real quick. No, I guess that's right. His first video, I just looked it up. His first video was in 2016. So I thought maybe he privated some videos or unlisted them.
I've even been able to recognize just certain viewpoints, and I'm like, oh, that's what Rakim thinks, the guy whose name I never say right. But this subgenre on this platform, the BookTube community within the YouTube community, is without a doubt the least toxic, best place for discussion that exists on the platform. There's no other community in YouTube I can think of where you can go and discuss the topic without there being like a 30 to 80% chance of just horrible backlash for you giving your opinion. Most of the time, when you guys give a controversial opinion on a book in the comments, people are just more or less saying, that's an interesting opinion, I like your take on that, here's why I disagree, but it's never a, you're wrong, I hate you, go die kind of approach that you see on so much of YouTube. And that lens for BookTube itself being such a wonderful place, it makes me hesitant to grow a whole lot more as a booktuber because I'm afraid what a 100,000 subscriber comment section looks like versus my current borderline 7,000. So yes, I love...
Wait a minute. Okay, this was in 2018 at 7,000 subscribers, so in 2 years, or maybe over 2 years, he gained almost 250,000 subscribers. That is insane.
Of the growth, I'm so excited to see this growth happening. I wanted to keep going, but yeah, there's some nervousness, there's some hesitation. I might have to set up filters and things like that in the comments section going forward. But I don't think that'll be the case. I think even as my channel grows, it'll continue, because I had this same fear going from 500 to 1,000 subs. I had this same fear going from 1,000 to 5,000, but it's never really devolved into something horrible. In fact, horrible comments are so rare that when they do happen, I can kind of make responses, which are not my most well-liked videos, because it's me giving a strong opinion, but those are more or less supposed to be jokes. I hope that comes across well. But I go to bigger booktubers, people with 10, 15, 20, 30,000 subs, and even their comment sections are fairly clean. Now. I don't know how much moderation they're doing. I doubt it's a whole lot. I certainly do almost none for my comment section. The only time I delete comments is when I see like racial or homophobic slurs being thrown around, but I can count the number of times that's been required on both hands. And if you go to like any Fortnite video and look in the comment section and are able to scroll more than like 2 pages without seeing some horrible stuff going down, that's rare.
So true.
So from the community base here, BookTube is the best community within YouTube in my opinion. And I've been on YouTube since I was like 12, 13, whenever it really first came out, back when there was the star rating system. You couldn't even upload 720p video. That's how long I've been here.
Okay, so he must have had another channel, or he did private early videos that he did when he was 12. Because, God, I hope he wasn't 12 in that first video.
And I'm just still blown away by the other creators most of all. These people are so nice and they're so eloquent in how they speak. All of them just give intelligent, well-informed opinions, even the ones I disagree with. I always appreciate where they come from. They're just genuine people who we all share a strong love of reading, and seeing these communities grow and overlap and occasionally creators work together is just beautiful in my opinion. It's what really drives me to step up my game. I want to put as much passion and effort in my videos as the best booktubers out there, and by the way, subscriber and view count do not reflect best booktuber. That's not a diss at the people who have the biggest. I'm just saying there are smaller booktubers who put out incredible work almost every week that I enjoy going through. Some of them are authors, some are involved in publishing, others just read as a hobby like myself, but all of them have these great voices that resonate with their audiences in such a magnificent way. I'm jealous of so many of them for various reasons, but I use that as motivation to just always try and be on their level, bring myself to the best I can be as a booktuber.
This is like a love
and that's
letter
the
to
kind of
BookTube.
creator community I want to be a part of. I've never seen BookTube drama. I've never seen booktubers going at it in any form of nasty way, and I think it's because books inherently just don't lend themselves to that. You can't have a factual opinion about a book in a lot of ways because they're up to your interpretation. You can change the book in your mind even if you want, and no one can really tell you you're wrong. We're all bonding around a specific topic, a specific thing that we love, and anyone who tells someone they're wrong for liking a book or they're horrible for enjoying a book, they're going to be not really encouraged to grow within the community. So what you have is from the bottom up an environment that promotes a continued growth in this healthy fashion, and that is why I'm so happy I got my start in YouTube as a booktuber. I don't know if I'll be a booktuber through and through all the time forever. I could evolve where I'm only doing book reviews 2 to 3 times a week and doing things outside of character examinations or summaries very often. I don't want to be constrained to just the BookTube label, but I'll never let it not be a part of what the channel's identity is.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. I think there was a video at some point where I remember him saying, oh, I'm not going to consider myself just a BookTube channel anymore.
I'm divorcing BookTube.
But here, it looks like he's just still a BookTuber. But that's so amazing how fast his channel grew. I don't know what his secret is. Okay, let's go ahead and jump to his most recent video, which is canceling authors. I wonder if this has to do with the Gavin situation.
Hello, audience, and welcome to a very complicated topic to get into here on the channel, and me admitting to an honest mistake that I should not have done. This is in response to my recent fantasy awards, where I had a segment about most badass protagonist, and one of the nominations was a Sam Sykes character. Now, this was Pyrrha's pick, but I take absolutely full responsibility for that being in my video. I had final cut, I had final edit, and just to absolutely take this off her shoulders, on Twitter, she even came out and said she regretted putting that nomination in there. I should have removed it. It's my fault. My logic in the moment was I don't feel like I can tell a friend that this book didn't mean what it meant to them, and so I left it in. Shouldn't have done that. I personally have made the call that I'm not going to read or review Sam Sykes books here on the channel anymore. Now, this is actually brought to my attention from a fellow booktuber tweeting about it, saying, I get separating the art from the artist, but at what point do we draw the line, including an author who was accused of sexual harassment by multiple women and was dropped by his publisher as a result in a best books of 2020 list was a choice. Daniel Greene had his fantasy award video recently. In this video, Pyrrha Ford nominates 10 Arrows of Iron by Sam Sykes. He was accused of sexual harassment earlier this year and dropped by his publisher because of it. I
don't know anything about this topic. I've never read Sam Sykes. I haven't heard about this type of accusation, but that's pretty darn serious, sexual assault. This wasn't the most recent type of video I thought we were going to get, but let's continue.
Responded. Those were Pyrrha Ford's picks, but I take full responsibility for them being in the video. I personally won't read that author anymore, but I also don't feel comfortable telling someone you can't praise that book that meant a lot to you. I do very much so respect your position, and I largely agree with it, but I also hate giving an author the power to ruin a story that could be close to someone's heart with their actions. I don't ask you to agree or like the decision, but I wanted to address this to give clarity. Please feel free to tag me in the future. And Pyrrha responded as well. I also want to chuck in that whilst I do enjoy the book character, after learning about the allegations recently, which I have addressed in video, I won't be supporting / recommending his books anymore. I apologize for the oversight in this issue. And Pyrrha and I are friends. We've gone on and talked about this in depth in our own personal conversations. But this leads to a wider thing that's becoming a larger part of the channel, and it's almost unavoidable at this point. What is the line that I have to then say, no, I can't talk about this author anymore, I don't want to talk about them anyway, or can I still talk about them, but I should just always mention the horrible aspects? And I even had a couple people calling me a hypocrite for having Sam Sykes included in this award ceremony on my channel, while also condemning George R. R. Martin having Lovecraft in that one instance quite a while ago. I don't think of the fantasy awards on my channel here as a serious thing. It's kind of a giant joke. I think award ceremonies as a whole are pointless and a joke, so I didn't think I was actually elevating anybody, but I need to realize in reality I am. Anytime I mention an author on this channel, I'm elevating them, and I don't mean that in an egotistical way. I get how that sounds, but I have 250,000 subscribers here, and it would be stupid of me to not acknowledge the fact that if I say a name, someone's going to Google it and maybe buy a book. I have affiliate links I can look at the data of.
Just giving you my own 2 cents, I have no issues with anyone liking or recommending authors who are problematic. I think I mentioned that in my Lovecraft video and elsewhere. If you like Harry Potter and you disagree with J.K. Rowling on her trans issues, you can still like Harry Potter. There's nothing wrong with that. I think my example I usually go to is Orson Scott Card. I have trouble reading his books. In fact, I won't read his books anymore because of his views on homosexuality. Not just his views on homosexuality, but his political activism against gay marriage back in, 2006-07. Anyway, I've said, and I'll continue to say, that Ender's Game is a fantastic book. And regarding something like Lovecraft, the guy's dead. You're not putting money in your pocket by reading Lovecraft. And without a doubt, he has inspired so many other authors. And he's continuing to inspire a new generation. Especially, I love seeing Princes of Color reinterpreting Lovecraft's C. and K. Jemison's The City We Became.
And even if I negatively review a book, there are people who are going to go purchase it. And on the complete other side of this argument, there are fans of mine, there are subscribers I've seen who have said, like, you shouldn't care about this, you should just talk about the author and the story, and it doesn't matter. I'm not comfortable with that approach. It's the same reason why I won't be continuing the Three Body Problem series. The author came out as pro-genocide, and I went, nope, I can't do that. It just would feel dirty and wrong for me as a person, so where's the line? I don't know yet. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what my exact line is here. There are authors who have in the past who have made homophobic comments, and I really did not like that. But a few years later, they came out, they said they regretted it, and they apologized. And I'm a very big advocate for people can change. So there's certain things where I don't want to necessarily cut someone off because they said a certain thing, because as someone who was raised by members of the LGBTQ plus community, I know the number one way you can change someone's mind on that is showing them welcoming and love. That's how you destroy their hate. So it feels like every issue has a different angle. Now, specifically with sexual harassment and assault, I'm a lot less forgiving. As a victim of it myself, I am really angry whenever I hear about someone who has done something along those lines. It physically makes me ill. And I've apparently taken a completely different approach on the channel here, where I've joked about and dunked on J.K. Rowling repeatedly, because my general philosophy there is I'm not big enough as a content creator to affect her one way or the other, right? Like, she's so far beyond my level of success that I can be super positive or negative, and it doesn't matter. So I've decided the best thing I can do is try and poke fun at it, because when something really bothers me, laughing at it is how I cope. And I see some people have been uncomfortable about that because what she said really directly hurt them, and I get it. I also get a lot of comments of people saying I obviously never actually read J.K. Rowling's comments. I'll counter by going, yes, I did. You don't understand the greater context around them and how someone can be a gateway to greater hate. And her directly hateful comments as well. There's a reason her own actors have come out and strongly condemned her. We're not going to get into that. No more time is needed for her.
Okay, I don't think I'm going to watch the whole video here. Regarding J.K. Rowling, I kind of feel sorry for her, because I don't think she's actually thinking through, or maybe she's just surrounding herself with people that are challenging her views, but they seem very insulated and very toned down. I've talked about doing a J.K. Rowling video, but I'm a drag queen, and I don't want people to get confused with thinking that I'm a trans person when I'm not. But I do have several trans friends, so I was thinking about actually having a trans person come on my channel, and then we could discuss J.K. Rowling in a real way. But thank you, COVID. That's not going to happen anytime soon. Now, I think Daniel Greene is very intense. He has this intense energy that I think really draws people in. And he comes across as very intellectual. I call him sort of the intellectual booktuber. And, of course, he comes across as very genuine and real. There is no question why he is at 250,000 views, which, again, in the BookTube universe, puts him at the top of the top. I am kind of curious what videos he may have done before that first wheel of time we saw on this channel, if he has another channel, or what happened to really see his growth as a creator, because I thought that Wheel of Time video was pretty well polished. So if you are not subscribed to Daniel Greene and don't know who he is, I strongly urge you to check him out. And if you're not subscribed to me, what are you waiting for? Give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you think of Daniel Greene, if you've heard of him. And until we meet again, may all the books you read be blessed.